Oh, I think liberal hegemony, which I opposed, by the way, was a rational strategy. The basic argument behind liberal hegemony was that if you could spread the American economic system all over the world, you could get countries like China hooked on capitalism. You could get China integrated into the global economic order that the United States had established after World War II. If you could get countries like China into institutions like the World Trade Organization, the IMF, and so forth and so on, the World Bank, and make them key players in those institutions, that they would become responsible stakeholders. And eventually what would happen, so the argument went, was that China would become a democracy. China would live happily ever after with the United States. That was the theory, right? The idea was that you could basically remake the world in America's image. In other words, what you want to do with liberal hegemony is you want to spread democracy all over the planet. And if every country is a democracy, so the argument goes, they won't fight wars against each other. There won't be massive human rights violations. If you can spread capitalism across the planet and get countries to a point where they're all economically interdependent, they won't fight wars against each other because they're making so much money, they're becoming so prosperous. And then finally, the argument was if you could get all these countries embedded in institutions, they would become responsible stakeholders. You want to remember that what the United States was doing with China was pursuing liberal hegemony, which meant engagement. Most Chinese loved engagement. It's what helped make China rich. So from China's point of view, liberal hegemony was manna from heaven. That's my argument as to why it was a foolish policy. We helped turn China into a great power. As you can clearly understand, from a realist point of view, and as you know, I'm a realist, that was a mistake. But from a liberal point of view, from the point of view of the liberal policymakers who ran American foreign policy from roughly 1990 up until about 2017, liberal hegemony made eminently good sense. Or to put it in more particular terms, engagement towards China, which was part of liberal hegemony, made eminently good sense. And again, you want to understand from China's point of view, liberal hegemony, or more specifically, engagement, was a good thing. So Chinese should not complain about liberal hegemony. You should thank your lucky stars that the United States was foolish enough to pursue liberal hegemony.